My child, have you waited so long for bad news that you have forgotten how it feels to expect something good? It happened quietly. You kept moving. You carried what had to be carried. You handled what was urgent. And somewhere along the way, you stopped making plans. You never announced that decision. There was no day when you stood up and said that hope was finished. You simply learned that expecting too much can end in one more disappointment. And it began to feel wiser to keep your heart close to the ground. Hear me now. This season of your life is not meant to be read only through what went wrong. There is still goodness in front of you. There are still reasons to lift your head. I am present in a story that is not finished. I am going to say two things in this message, and I want you to hold them both. What is coming is better than what you left behind. And part of what is coming carries a name you would not have guessed. Do not turn my words into a prediction. Do not fasten them to a date, an amount, a message that must arrive, or one particular face. Something deeper is being awakened in you. The ability to believe again that your future is not condemned to repeat your past. So receive this while your caution is still standing. I am with you. Do not let what you lost convince you that no good thing remains ahead of you. Walk near me and learn again how to look forward without bracing for impact. Making room for something good does not mean persuading yourself that tomorrow will be perfect. It means leaving open a possibility that exhaustion had begun to close. There is a difference, and your heart knows it. Perhaps you have lived for months, even years, behind a quiet defense. If you do not hope too much, you will not hurt too much. If you refuse to get excited, no one can disappoint you. If you keep your expectations low, you feel that you hold more control. That protection can look like wisdom. Over time, it can also blind you to the truth that your life still contains doors, people, conversations, quiet mornings and new beginnings that deserve to be received without suspicion. There is a song in my word that keeps a very human picture. It speaks of a people who had known deep sorrow and who felt they were dreaming when restoration came. Their mouths filled with laughter again, their tongues filled with singing. That same song does not erase the sorrow. It speaks of going out weeping while carrying seed and coming home with songs of joy. That combination matters. The hope I give you never requires you to pretend that nothing hurt. It shows you something better. The weeping of one season does not have to become the permanent language of your whole life. You are allowed to have wept. You are not required to keep speaking only that language. That may be exactly what you need to remember today. You have lived through things that made you more careful, and some of that care was necessary. You learned from mistakes, from closed doors, from goodbyes, and from plans that changed without asking you. But learning from a wound is not the same as letting yesterday decide in advance how everything unfinished will end. There is an enormous distance between having a memory and living as a prisoner inside it. When I tell you that something good may be near, I am not asking you to ignore reality or to build impossible expectations. I am asking you to recover an inner posture, one that can still recognize my goodness while matters remain unresolved. The good can begin as a peace you have not felt in a long time, a wiser decision, a relationship that becomes healthier, an opportunity you can weigh calmly, the return of a purpose you had set down, or simply the strength to take part in your own life again. You do not need to know its shape yet in order to stop believing that the best of your story is already behind you. That belief has been speaking to you for a long while, and it has never once been asked to prove itself. There is another line in my word that will grow deeper as this message continues. A man in trouble kept his confidence that he would see my goodness in the land of the living, and from there he told his own heart to wait and take courage. Notice the order inside those words. He is not describing someone who knows every event of the future. He is describing someone who refuses to believe that present difficulty holds the entire truth about what remains to be lived. That can be your posture from this moment. You do not have to manufacture excitement. You do not have to announce that everything is settled. It is enough to open a small space and say honestly that, after all you have lived, you want to believe again that my goodness can still find you. Because there is a difference between demanding that events unfold exactly as you wish and keeping your heart available for the good you can still receive. One of those closes your hands, the other keeps them open. And perhaps the most important question is not when this new chapter arrives. Perhaps it is the one you rarely let yourself look at. After so many disappointments, what would need to heal inside you so that when something good appears, you are not afraid to receive it? That question touches a hidden place. After several losses, a person does not usually stop believing in me, but that person can begin to relate to the future from behind a shield, examining every door for the trap they assume is waiting. If good news arrives, you first search for what could go wrong. If someone approaches with kind intentions, you wait before trusting. If an opportunity appears, instead of feeling gladness, you begin to calculate how much it would cost you to lose it. You do not do this because you are a bitter person. It is a learned way of guarding your heart. And I am not here to shame you for it. I am here to show you that the guard has begun to keep out more than it keeps safe. Say aloud, I am willing to expect good again, if these words are finding a true place inside you. Listen closely, because something strange happens when that guard has been standing too long. You ask me for change, and then a different possibility appears and it unsettles you. You pray for new opportunity, and the familiar still feels safer. You want your gladness back, and yet on a peaceful day you almost wait for something to interrupt it. The heart grows so accustomed to resisting that rest begins to feel foreign. Even good seasons are received with your shoulders raised. One person hears a kind word and immediately wonders how long it will last. Another spends a pleasant evening with those they love and, instead of being fully present, begins imagining future trouble. Another receives an opportunity and starts saying goodbye to it before they have explored it. In that way, the pain that already passed keeps collecting interest on days that have not yet happened. My child, I do not want your yesterday charging rent on your tomorrow. We must be honest here, because I am not asking you to forget what you learned or to trust without discernment. There are experiences that teach you to set limits, to ask better questions, to pay closer attention. Hope is not a return to being naive. Hope is refusing to let an old wound hold absolute authority over a new possibility. That is all. It is a transfer of authority, not a denial of history. Perhaps there are matters that remain unresolved. Perhaps you are waiting for an answer. Perhaps this is a demanding season for your finances, or those you love are living through changes, or the years have simply begun to resemble one another too closely. None of that must be minimized for another truth to stand beside it. Your present does not hold enough information to dictate your entire future. It never has. And preparing yourself does not begin with a list of extraordinary things you hope to receive. It begins by noticing what stirs inside you when you imagine that a different season could still come. If a voice answers immediately, "Do not get your hopes up, it will not last. At your age, that door is closed," then something there needs to be brought honestly before me. A person can keep walking and, without noticing, have stopped expecting. A person can meet every obligation while slowly closing the inner windows through which curiosity, gladness, and the desire to begin used to enter. So it is worth asking yourself when protecting yourself from another disappointment began to feel more important than allowing yourself to live what you do not yet know. When that protection has been working for a long time, it mixes with other voices, and it becomes difficult to know which one is choosing. Fear, for example, does not always shout. Sometimes it speaks in a reasonable tone. It says it is better not to try, not to ask, not to draw too close, not to expect anything. Its argument sounds simple. If you reduce the possibilities, you reduce the risk of suffering. Wisdom works another way. Wisdom looks at the facts, acknowledges risk, and sets limits, but it does not declare the future guilty before meeting it. Wisdom can weigh an opportunity without idealizing it, and without rejecting it only because something earlier went wrong. Wisdom can meet a new person without handing over all your trust at once, and also without demanding that they pay a debt they never created. That difference seems small. It changes the entire way you walk. There is also the comparison that appears when you feel that other lives are moving while yours stands still. Gatherings you hear about, plans that came together for someone else, celebrations, people your age beginning something new. Without knowing what stands behind those moments, you can arrive at a silent conclusion. Good things still happen for them. For me, that season is probably finished. And you carry that sentence around as though I had spoken it. I did not speak it. What you are hearing is the result of measuring your whole life against the visible moment of someone else's. You did not sit through their difficult conversations, their changes of plan, their doubts, their ordinary days. Guilt can also keep you tied to the past. Perhaps there were decisions you would now make differently. Perhaps you let an opportunity pass, stayed too long in a place, or said something you wish you could take back. Taking responsibility can help you repair, ask forgiveness, and learn. What does not help is turning an error into a sentence that says you no longer deserve to begin again. My correction leads somewhere. Condemnation only circles. There are people who punish themselves very quietly. They never say that they do not deserve anything good. They simply stop looking for it. They settle for what harms them, abandon work that still matters to them. Guilt dresses itself as responsibility and turns the past into a room they are never allowed to leave. My child, if you have been living in that room, hear me. The door was never locked from my side. Another struggle appears with the need for control. After unexpected changes, anticipating everything seems to offer safety. You go over a conversation several times. You try to read the intentions of others. You calculate outcomes and want to know in advance how each decision will end. But there comes a point where preparing stops meaning acting responsibly and starts meaning demanding a guarantee that no one possesses. Faith does not cancel uncertainty. It teaches you to live inside uncertainty without handing the wheel to fear, guilt, or comparison. You can examine the facts, seek counsel, and make careful decisions while admitting that you will not control every variable. Trusting me is not closing your eyes to reality. It is refusing to treat your worst imagined outcome as though it were already an accomplished fact. Your defenses tell part of your story. They do not have to become your identity. They were answers that may have carried you through certain moments. Now you can examine which of them still protect you and which only keep you far from your own life. One sign of that change appears when your questions begin to change. Instead of asking only what could go wrong, you can look at what facts are actually in front of you. Instead of thinking only about the possibility of being hurt again, you can remember the limits you now know how to set. And when that voice insists your time has passed, you can answer that the years you have lived do not automatically cancel the possibility of purpose, of company, of service, of learning, of gladness. Keep this and carry it with you. Mature hope does not ignore the scars. It simply stops asking them for permission before every new step. And that truth becomes visible in a story where two women walked toward a future neither of them could describe. They had no guarantee that anything remarkable was waiting. One of them was returning convinced that life had taken far too much from her. Speak the words, "Yes, Lord," if your heart is beginning to open again. The book of Ruth does not begin with a happy scene. A family from Bethlehem had gone out to Moab during a time of hunger. Elimelech traveled with his wife Naomi and their 2 sons, looking for a place to continue. Then the story filled with loss. Elimelech died. The sons married Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah, and with the passing of years, those sons died as well. Naomi was left without her husband and without the 2 who had carried her sense of the future. When she heard that I had again provided food for my people, she decided to return to Judah. She did not carry a detailed plan for rebuilding her life. She was not celebrating. She was going back after losing the very people around whom she had imagined every coming year. On the road, she told Ruth and Orpah to return to their own families. All 3 wept. Orpah went back. Ruth made a decision of extraordinary firmness. She would stay with Naomi, walk with her, and make Naomi's people and Naomi's God her own. Ruth did not know the ending either. Her decision was not born from knowing that a comfortable life waited in Bethlehem. It was born from a faithfulness willing to move forward without guarantees. Before you hear what came next, I ask something of you. My child, I am asking you to place a portion of what you have, something of real weight, upon the altar of this work, as gold laid on the scales of this calling. Let it be a seed sown into deep water, an offering set on stone, not held back in fear. This is proof that your trust rests in my hand to provide, and that your heart no longer clings to lack. What you release in faith does not leave your life. It moves ahead of you, into the harvest I am preparing. Now hear what happened when they arrived. Bethlehem was a familiar place to Naomi, but she was no longer the same woman who had left it. The town stirred at the sight of her, and the women asked whether this was really her. Naomi answered with painful honesty. She asked them not to call her by the name that means pleasant, but by a name associated with bitterness. She had gone out full, and she felt she was coming back empty. My word does not censor that sentence. Naomi is allowed to name her pain. You do not need to smile to prove faith, and you do not need to hide your losses behind a religious answer. In that moment, she was reading her life by what was no longer in it. Yet the account leaves one quiet detail at the end of that chapter. Naomi and Ruth came to Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. They did not yet know what that timing would mean. The harvest was already starting while Naomi felt empty. Her feeling was true. She had suffered enormous loss. But her feeling did not contain all the information about what stood in front of her. Pain could describe the chapter she had just lived. It could not narrate the one that was beginning. That is the difference I want you to carry today. Your sorrow is honest. It is simply not complete. Ruth did not sit down and wait passively for life to change. She asked permission to go and gather grain behind the harvesters, using the provision my law had established for the vulnerable. It was a simple and necessary action. She went out to work with what was available to her, and she came to the field of Boaz, a man belonging to the family of Elimelech. Boaz asked who she was and heard about her loyalty to Naomi. Then he spoke with her, allowed her to remain in his fields, and gave instructions so that she would be protected while she worked. Ruth was astonished at such favor, since she was a foreigner. Notice how good things begin to appear in this story, not first as a spectacular scene. They appear as food for that day, safety in a place of work, dignified treatment, a door left open so she could continue. Before Ruth could imagine everything that would happen later, there was concrete provision she could receive in the present. That is often how I begin, not with the ending, with enough for today, offered in a form small enough to be missed. When she returned, she brought Naomi what she had gathered, and the conversation began to change. Naomi asked where she had worked, and hearing the name of Boaz, she recognized a possibility Ruth did not yet fully understand. That man was one of their near relatives, connected to the role of the family redeemer within the customs of Israel. See the contrast. The woman who had arrived saying she came back empty begins to recognize signs of goodness inside her new reality. Her losses do not vanish. No one replaces those who died, and my word does not treat her grief as a simple bridge to something better. What changes is that pain stops being the only information available to her. From there, the story continues with decisions that require prudence, responsibility, and trust. Naomi guides Ruth within the customs of that time. Boaz acknowledges that another relative holds a prior claim, and he does not hide that fact to obtain what he wants. The matter is settled publicly before the elders of the city. In the end, Boaz takes Ruth as his wife, and a son is born, Obed, who would become the father of Jesse and the grandfather of David. The story that began with hunger, migration, and mourning ends inside a line Naomi could never have anticipated as she walked the road from Moab. But I will not use her life to promise that every loss is repaid in the same manner. Ruth and Naomi are not a formula for predicting events. Their story lets you look at something more sober, and for that reason more hopeful. You can enter a new season without feeling emotionally prepared to call it new. Naomi arrived in Bethlehem looking backward. The harvest, meanwhile, was beginning in front of her. So hear me. I have not abandoned you on this road. Even when you cannot yet recognize what stands ahead, stay near me. Your pain does not get to decide how you will look at every day you have left. Now I want to show you something that follows the same pattern, because goodness rarely arrives wearing the clothing you were expecting. Naomi did not expect a harvest, and you may not be expecting the form in which company is coming toward you. There is a person, not just anyone, a person whose presence in your life was not accidental, a person you may already know, a person you possibly filed under another heading. Perhaps you saw them as a friend, as someone close, as someone who simply appeared during a particular stretch of your road. Perhaps you even worked to convince yourself that you felt nothing unusual there. But hear this. There is a reason that person never fully disappeared from your awareness. There is a reason certain memories return. There is a reason some conversations are still alive inside you when others were erased long ago. And here is what may surprise you. The one I am pointing to may look nothing like the picture you built of who should occupy that place in your life. You expected another story, another kind of person, another way of beginning. Perhaps you imagined that the right love would enter with force, with signs impossible to ignore, with an emotion so strong that it left no room for questions. But much of what you once mistook for love was anxiety. It was uncertainty. It was chasing answers. It was wondering why someone could come near one day and vanish the next. Your body called that intensity, and you called intensity depth. So when something arrived calmly, you did not know what to do with the calm. Listen carefully, because this is the turn I need you to hear all the way through. You may have overlooked this person precisely because they did not activate the same wounds that others activated. You may have thought, I do not feel the same thing. When what you were not feeling was chaos, you may have said there was not enough spark between you. When what was missing was the constant fear of losing someone. Your past trained your heart to recognize intensity before it could recognize stability. Think of the day my prophet went to the house of Jesse to anoint a king. The sons were brought forward, one after another, tall and impressive, and each time the prophet was certain he had found the chosen one. Each time I said no, and I told him something you need for your own life. People look at what stands in front of their eyes, but I look at the heart. The one I had chosen was not even called to the table. David was out with the sheep. He was the smallest consideration in his own father's house. The room had already decided who mattered, and the room was wrong. They had to send for him before the day could finish. That is how easily the right one is passed over. Not through cruelty, through habit, through a picture formed before there was wisdom enough to form it. My child, you have done this with more than one good thing. So the name that surprises you may not be the name of someone entirely new. It may be someone who already stood in front of you, someone who spoke with you, someone who listened, someone whose presence seemed too simple to fit the complicated story you had learned to call love. And that person remained, not necessarily nearby, not necessarily speaking with you every day, but they remained within your awareness. And now I want to show you why. Do not run to find a name yet. Do not reach out to anyone on impulse. Do not turn my words into permission to pursue someone. First, understand 3 things. Why you could not recognize this connection when it first appeared. What changed inside you and inside that person while you were both walking separate roads. And what the sign will be that finally tells you this is unlike the connections that left you exhausted and unsure. Because when the truth begins to fit together, fear will not be the loudest voice. Peace will be. Now look honestly at a part of your history you have tried many times to explain. There came a moment when you stopped trusting more than other people. You began to question whether your own feelings could be trusted at all. You wondered whether your discernment was failing, and whether every time you felt something deep, you were about to make the same mistake again. So you learned to hold yourself back. If someone made you feel something different, you told yourself you were probably imagining too much. If a conversation stayed with you for hours, you tried to reduce its importance. If a presence gave you a calm you could not explain, you called it habit. If someone returned to your thoughts again and again, you convinced yourself it was only familiarity. Hear this clearly. Many times you did not ignore a connection because it was weak. You ignored it because you were afraid of being wrong again. That fear changed the way you looked at love. You analyzed signs. You tried to detect danger before it appeared. And without realizing it, you built an inner rule. If it does not feel intense, it is probably not important. But that rule was born from pain. Your earlier experiences had taught you to recognize love through anxiety. You grew used to waiting, to answers that came too slowly, to words that stayed vague, to someone drawing near with force and then withdrawing with no explanation. And when attention finally returned after a season of distance, your body felt relief. That relief resembled emotion so closely that you began to mistake it for depth. My child, you grew so used to the storm that when something arrived quietly, you could not recognize it. Perhaps this person did not stir the same weather in you. Perhaps speaking with them felt too easy, and precisely for that reason a part of you decided this could not be love. Perhaps you called it a lack of chemistry when it was an absence of fear. Perhaps you thought intensity was missing when what was missing was uncertainty. That person may have made you feel settled, and you had not yet learned that being settled can be one of the deepest forms of connection there is. So you place them in another category. Someone easy to talk with. Someone nearby. Someone you never allowed into the picture you had built of your future. Not because nothing was there, but because it did not resemble what your past had trained you to hunt for. Now I want to show you what was happening on the other side, while you were trying to understand why this connection never fully faded. You changed. That person changed as well. And if you had seen everything that was moving within them, you would have understood sooner why I did not let it all be revealed when you wanted it. It was not only your fear. It was not only your confusion. There were things in that person that still needed to be faced. Hear this and let it settle. If the two of you had come close too soon, something with the potential to be healthy could have become one more story of anxiety, distance, and misunderstanding. You were still learning not to chase. That person was still learning not to run. You were learning to set limits without feeling guilty. They were learning that closeness does not mean losing your freedom. You were learning to ask for clarity. They were learning not to hide behind silence. And while you were learning to stop reading every change as abandonment, They were learning not to disappear when a feeling grew too deep. Do you understand it now? You were not being prepared to complete one another. You were being prepared not to wound one another the way others had already wounded you both. Because if you had arrived afraid of losing, and they had arrived afraid of staying, every step would have struck the other's wound. You would have asked for more closeness. They would have felt pressure. They would have taken distance. You would have read that distance as rejection. Then you would have gone looking for more answers, and the more you tried to secure the connection, the more it could have closed. That cycle would not have been love. It would have been two injuries trying to protect themselves at the same time. So I allowed time. There were experiences that person needed to live without you. There were disappointments that had to teach them the value of being consistent. There were losses that showed them what happens when someone leaves everything unsaid. There were seasons of solitude that forced them to hear things they had been able to avoid. Perhaps they had to admit that holding emotions in is not always strength. Perhaps they had to discover that a real bond cannot grow if someone appears only when they feel safe and vanishes the moment they begin to feel too much. Hear this. While you were learning how much it hurts to receive too little, that person was learning how much damage is done by giving too little to someone who is trying to build something true. You learned that you cannot persuade anyone to choose you. They had to learn that no one can expect deep love while offering shallow presents. You learned that you should not have to beg for communication. They had to learn that silence communicates too. You learned not to confuse intensity with love. They had to learn not to confuse distance with safety. You learned that setting a limit is not punishment. They had to learn that respecting one does not mean losing someone. And here is a truth that may touch a deep place. There may have been a time when you would have been willing to try, but that person would not yet have known how to hold what you needed. That does not mean they felt nothing. Feeling is not the same as being ready. A person can feel deeply and still not know how to remain. They can have good intentions and communicate poorly. They can want closeness and sabotage it the moment it becomes real. I did not want you to confuse potential with readiness. That is why some things had to stay unnamed for a while. Not to withhold good from you, to keep you from building a house on ground that could not yet hold it. So do not punish yourself for failing to see it sooner. You could not fully recognize a connection while looking through wounds that made you distrust calm. And you could not expect that person to show a steadiness they were still learning to build within themselves. Both of you needed to become different from who you had been. Now look at the change in you. You no longer want to chase someone in order to feel chosen. You want something given back. You want quiet. You want to speak without fearing that every difficult conversation ends in disappearance. And that person has also learned that something real is not built from feelings alone. It is built with actions, with presence, with honesty, with the ability to stay in a conversation even when it becomes uncomfortable. So there may be something in the way that person speaks now, listens now, or considers you now that begins to feel different. Not because they suddenly became another human being, because parts that were hidden before can finally show themselves. Perhaps you will notice more patience, more consistency, more interest without pressure, more capacity to hold a conversation they once would have avoided. And you will answer differently as well. You will not need to interpret every word. You will not feel the same urgency to know immediately what everything means. You will be able to observe. You will be able to let truth reveal itself instead of forcing it to appear. And that matters, because I do not want you turning this message into a hurried conclusion. I want you to see the whole pattern. I want you to notice whether there is real growth on both sides. I want you to pay attention to whether the connection produces clarity or returns you to constant confusion. Time does not automatically turn someone into the right person, but growth can reveal what was not able to hold before. And there is one more reason the name may surprise you. Perhaps you are not discovering a new person at all. Perhaps you are discovering a new version of someone you already knew. And at the same time, that person is meeting a new version of you. This is why something that once seemed impossible can feel different now. Not because the past was erased, because neither of you is required to answer from it any longer. Whisper the words, "I trust your timing," if you are ready to stop rushing what I am building. Now let me show you how you will recognize that this is different from what left you confused and worn out. The first sign will be peace, not the absence of questions, a calm that stays underneath them. For a long time you believed a meaningful connection had to feel intense from the first moment. But much of that intensity was mixed with fear. Fear of losing, fear of not being enough, fear that someone would change their mind, fear that silence meant the end. So when you think of this person without letting your wounds speak first, notice that your body does not go into alarm. You do not feel the same need to chase an answer. You do not have to guess what every word meant. You are not living inside the question of whether you are wanted today and forgotten tomorrow. There will be questions. Beneath them, there will be steadiness. There will also be familiarity you cannot fully explain. You may wonder why speaking with this person feels natural, why certain silences are not uncomfortable, why you can show parts of yourself that you normally keep out of sight, why, after a conversation, you are not replaying every sentence to find out where you went wrong. That familiarity does not mean everything is perfect. It means you do not have to perform in order to keep the connection alive. The one I am pointing to will not require you to become someone else to hold their interest. You will not have to seem stronger than you are. You will not have to pretend that nothing matters to you. You will not have to hide your needs to keep them from leaving. You will be able to be seen. And one of the deepest signs will be exactly that. The sense that this person notices parts of you that others walked past. They may recognize a capacity in you that you had begun to forget. Then examine consistency, because words can create an impression while consistency reveals character. Notice what they do afterward. Notice whether they appear, whether they follow through, whether they can speak honestly when something changes. Notice whether you feel that you must compete for a place in their life, or whether their conduct lets you understand where you stand without having to beg for clarity. There is another sign that may have already appeared: persistence. I do not mean obsession. I do not mean pursuing someone who has turned away from you. I mean a presence that stays in your awareness without being forced there. Perhaps there was distance. Perhaps you stopped speaking for a time. But that person never fully left your memory, and when they return to your thoughts, they do not always arrive with desperation. Sometimes they arrive with a strange calm, as though a part of you were saying, "There is still something here I need to understand." What remains without pressure deserves to be examined, but what is real must also be confirmed by facts. So do not turn nostalgia into a sign. Do not mistake memory for something given back to you. Look at the present. Look at how that person behaves now. Look for real growth. Look at whether the connection can breathe without becoming constant confusion. Now I must protect you at the very point where this may begin to feel real, because your old fears will not vanish simply because you have recognized peace. Sometimes they return with more force once you finally have something that could matter. Then the old voice appears, the one that asks, "What if it happens again?" The one that says, "Do not trust too much." The one that pushes you to hunt for danger before any danger exists. Hear me. Not everything that frightens you is a warning, and not every discomfort means you should walk away. Sometimes what you feel does not come from the present. It comes from an old injury still trying to protect you with methods you no longer need. Perhaps that person takes longer to answer, and your mind begins building an entire story. Perhaps they need space and you feel something breaking. Perhaps they have a hard day and their tone changes, and a part of you immediately reads rejection. Before, you would have reacted quickly. More messages, demands for explanation before you had any facts. Or the opposite. Closing your heart, stepping back, acting as though nothing mattered to you. That was protection, and it could also become sabotage. So breathe before assuming. Ask before accusing. Observe before withdrawing. Wait before building a silent conclusion. But understand clearly, my child, that this does not mean ignoring real signs. If someone lies, mocks you, disrespects you, plays with your heart, or uses silence as punishment, that person does not deserve your attention. I will never ask you to call disorder devotion. Do not use the idea of a chosen connection to justify conduct that destroys your peace. Discernment does not mean denying what you see. It means learning to see it without fear distorting everything. An old wound makes you react before you understand. A real warning is still visible after you have breathed and looked calmly. So examine patterns, not isolated moments. Is there consistency? Is there respect? Can this person take responsibility? Can they listen without turning cruel? Can they speak when something troubles them? Can they respect a limit without turning it into punishment? There will also be another test. Vulnerability. A moment will come when you have to say what you actually feel. Not a controlled version. Not an answer designed to look strong. The truth. Perhaps you will have to admit that something hurt, that you are afraid, that you need clarity, that you care more than you wanted to acknowledge. And there a part of you may want to retreat, because you once learned that showing too much gives away your power. But nothing real can grow where both people are hiding. Vulnerability is not surrendering your dignity. It is letting truth have room. And if that person answers with care, presence, and respect, you will have learned something important about their character. Do not confuse openness with dependence. You can open your heart without losing yourself. You can love without abandoning your limits. You can listen without excusing everything. You can forgive without agreeing to accept the same treatment again. That is maturity. And do not compare every gesture of this person with someone who hurt you before. Do not make a new person pay a debt they did not create. Your past can teach you. It must not become the permanent judge of your present. Hear this, because it may be the most important sentence in this message. Sometimes the greatest risk is not choosing the wrong person. It is refusing what is healthy, because it feels too unlike what you knew. So I am not asking you to close your eyes. I am asking you to open them fully. Observe, listen, let time confirm, let actions speak. Do not force a label too early. Do not build an entire life in your mind after a few signs. Let the connection reveal itself step by step. If it is real, it will not need pressure to exist. And if it is not, clarity will come to you as well, and clarity is never a loss. Understand also that what I am bringing is not designed only to keep you company. I am not drawing this person near to distract you from your purpose. I am not placing them on your road so that you abandon your work, your identity, or what you have built. Perhaps you once confused love with total sacrifice. You thought loving meant always adjusting, always yielding, always waiting, always understanding. And slowly you could disappear inside a relationship while trying to prove you were able to hold it together. The connection I am describing will not require you to become smaller so that it can grow. The right person will not need to dim your light in order to feel secure. They will not be threatened by your goals. They will not need you to surrender a part of yourself to prove your commitment. They will be able to walk beside you while you keep becoming who I called you to be. And you will have to learn to do the same for them. This is not one person carrying everything. This is not one healing the other. I bring together two people who have learned to stand on their own. so that they can walk together without destroying what makes each of them themselves. There will be closeness. There will be support. There will also be room. Room to grow, to think, to keep developing gifts, goals, and responsibilities. That does not weaken love. It strengthens it. One of the greatest confirmations will be that you do not have to carry it alone. You will not have to convince that person to stay. You will not have to drag the relationship forward. There will be movement from both sides. And if you are listening to me tonight with none of this yet visible, hear me carefully. My silence is not proof of my absence. There are seasons with little outward movement in which you are still learning to live with more freedom. Do not measure my nearness by how much news your life produces. If you only call good the one event you are waiting for, every day without it will look empty. But when your sight widens, goodness can reach you while you wait. It reaches you in strength to hold a difficult conversation, in wisdom not to return to a place that harmed you, in a friendship that stays, in the calm of admitting that today you do not need every answer, and you do not have to keep your life in pause until then. A request does not have to disappear for you to sit at your table with attention, to visit someone you love, to learn something new, or to take up work you set down. That is not resignation. It is recognizing that your life has more dimensions than one answer. Ruth went out to gather grain. Naomi paid attention to what was happening. Boaz acted with integrity inside a process. None of them knew the ending. Each responded to what stood in front of them. That is what I am asking of you. Not certainty about the whole road. Availability for one honest step inside the day I have given you. So let your shoulders come down. You do not have to solve a conversation before you are allowed to breathe more easily. You do not have to receive an answer before you rest. You have carried a great deal, and not all of it needs to stay in your hands at once. Some things require your attention, but not in this moment. Others were never under your control, though you spent many nights treating them as though they were. You can recognize the difference without reproaching yourself. You did what you knew how to do in seasons when you were tired, worried, or trying to care for those you love. If you understand something different today, you do not need to punish yourself for not understanding it sooner. Wisdom also arrives while you are walking. Now return with me to where this message began. What is coming is better than what you left behind. Not because what you left had no value, because you will meet what is ahead with hands that have learned when to hold and when to let go. You will meet it with a heart that can tell peace from emptiness and consistency from a trap. You will meet it awake, and that changes what you are able to receive. If a name has been rising in your mind while these words reached you, do not run toward it, and do not run from it. Let character, consistency, and time confirm what you are only beginning to see. What belongs to your road will also have to find you from the other side. There will be mutual movement. There will be mutual presence. And if that is missing, you will receive the clarity to release it without destroying yourself. Not everything that surprises you is a mistake. Sometimes truth surprises you because it breaks a picture you drew before you were ready to see. Do not rush. Do not force. Do not chase. Look for peace. Look for consistency. Look for real growth. And when full clarity comes, you will not have to talk yourself into it. What is aligned with you will never ask you to lose yourself in order to remain. I am with you in this, and I am not finished with your story. Say amen now if you believe what is ahead of you is better than what you left behind.
We run on viewer support only. For exclusive member-only content, scan the QR or see the pinned comment. God bless you.